as we start this new adventure in the world of Greyhawk. You all find yourselves running through Pathfinder, with new characters, a new setting entirely, charging forth into the unknown. This poor world, as mentioned, shattered and broken after everything that's happened. Magic gone for at least a century, and the races themselves growing stagnant. Which is where we come on to today's party. Some of the few who actually have some spark of magic between them. Something they generally probably don't share around too openly, just because not very many people know of magic anymore. The world finding mechanical footing, but this is post-apocalyptic after all. While adventuring out, they were requested by some locals if they could investigate a crypt that recently opened up. Because, you know, they don't want the kids going down and playing inside and getting themselves hurt. Who knows what's inside this old dusty place? And as they made their way in, walking through and finding various old horrific designs, and a few that left them slightly surprised, passing over a pit trap that fell apart beneath their feet, they soon made their way into a strange chamber. This one filled with the same lights on the wall that illuminate as they draw close, and a large green orb in the center they had investigated, inspected, and physically touched, which then began to shed an eerie green glow against the room, which is where we left off for last session. And I'll unpause the game so you can feel free to move your tokens and all that around. I haven't bothered to lock the doors of these cells as they'll open freely. They will prevent your movement on the edges, mind you. Be one hell of a seeing orb at 5 foot. The detect magic you had previously used, I think that might be still running. I'm not sure on the specific timestamp, but I'm going to clear out. The detect magic that was previously dropped by Phoenix would be showing that this thing does radiate a small volume of magical power, but not very much at all. Most likely, whatever its actual purpose is, it hasn't reached that full degree of power. There wouldn't be anything more to reach at for this one, as it seems to be an not quite fully activated device for whatever it does. Judging by the look of it, you imagine it probably would be used for some form of communication or scrying or something of the sort like that. Fits the sort of dimensions of a giant crystal ball, or something of that sort, but without it getting more power, without receiving the way it was, where it's been so long, it's hard to pinpoint exactly what such a thing could be used for. And in fact, in its present state, with slight modifications, and I say the word slight with big old air quotes because you know none of these things are ever quick, you could probably modify it to have specific usages when it fully comes back to what it would be. If it should fully come back to what it would be. Hell, it could even be a trap. The energies inside, if twisted just right, could lash out, letting off bolts of the energy that are within it. Or perhaps an anti-magic effect that would make you float across the ceiling, or any number of features. But in its present state, it's half of a thing. Only reminiscent of the power it once held, with the soft, dimming light, the only thing flickering behind. Jail cells with a number of broken bones and fitted bones and dead bodies throughout, along with an iron maiden at the back. Perpetual device of pain and torment, but this orb, being 5 foot, is held up with a pedestal, and bronze arms locked around it, lifting it off the floor enough that you're able to scooch past it. As you all settle your ways back, leaning away from it, it still seems to have that same eerie glow, but as the vaccine steps back, the Iron Maiden beside you creaks slowly as it begins to open. Jumping back or not, your character would realize, underneath their feet, one of the stones you stepped on appears to have opened it, and inside, still wearing exceptionally heavy but fully pierced plate, is a soldier, or the remnants of one, you would assume. Nothing inside now but bones inside hollow armor. At a glance, you can also see another stone under your foot. No check required since you stepped on the stone to trigger it. There is a second stone, likewise, that could be stepped on. So, as you're all walking forward, as the vaccine is reaching hands out towards this body and lifts his foot off that stone which opened the doors, give me a reflex savings throw. Just the vaccine. I should give you disadvantage given that you're 6'2". Oh wait, that's not a thing. I had to say it though. The gangly arms reaching out. But as we see, you managed to roll up a 16 on the dice roll. You know what? Maybe you didn't jinx yourself. Maybe you do still have good luck for today. But, oh gosh, for the Emperor. You managed to jump back just in time as the two doors that make up the front of this specific one sledgehammer shut, scraping across your knuckles just briefly as you realize that the foot pedal that you lifted not only opens the doors but is responsible for closing them as well. Tapping the stones or opening the doors by hand? Alright. As you press the other stone button, you can hear... Oh yeah, definitely. I don't have an initiative order running at the moment, so I'm being a little bit on the flexy. Pushing the other button, though, you can clearly hear mechanical machinations, lightly grinding, rusting sounds against each other from inside the Iron Maiden. So long as your foot's pressed down on it, you can hear these sounds. Do you leave it pushed down for a few moments? As your typical Iron Maiden, in order to show off the depravity, there are eye holes and a mouth hole on the mask that would cover the face. If you wanted to take a look, well, that's probably the only place you could see inside from. With a foot held over as you lean across, spikes come out from the eye holes and the mouth holes as you see a brief instance. The character manages to pull their head back just in time, mind you. As you weren't instantly looking in, you had the time to see this coming. If you were leaning against this when you put the foot down, might have been a different story, but in this scenario, no, I don't go full horror movie. You pull your head back and you can tell, yep, certainly, pushing that button on the left would appear to be a death sentence for anyone held inside the Iron Maiden. And some people might be wondering, it's covered in spikes. If you close it, is that not a death sentence? Technically, no. Position a body in it just right, and it's hours upon hours upon hours of agony. Like if you hold up a bag filled with water and shove a pencil through either side, it won't leak. But God, it's gonna hurt. Iron Maiden, very, very horrible torture device. And this one also designed to have a kill switch. It's a good thing you went here before the little kiddos of the nearby town decided to go and explore these ruins. Though there aren't any. It'd be a horrifying way to power it. Meanwhile, you've got Nestry holding up what looks like a broken soul coin. Oh, what's going on? Just for a throwback. Not really, that doesn't actually happen, mind you, but just for a fun throwback. Ha! I called it. well, taking your time, popping open the door, bringing out what remains. It's an old corpse, and at this point has been rendered pretty much dust, with the spikes that went through the head for the moment that I mentioned earlier. Even though it's a corpse, I don't want to go too much in the detail on bone grinding, but hey, if you ever needed a way to make bone meal, shoot, this would probably be pretty good. Unfortunately, though, nothing stands out too heavily on what remains. Most of the organic components of this armor as well will have long since gone. The cloth that would be attached to it destroyed, leaving nothing behind but the metal husk, rusted, worn, and destroyed. Of no use to anyone anymore. Plus, with pushing that button, yeah, it's pretty much nuked. Might need these someday. Let me put this in this bag of random bullcrap. Along with this guy's femur. Yep, this works. Then you pull it back out. My mistake. This girl's femur. Put it back in. Someone would be like, how would you know? And your character would be like, well, I can actually tell you. There was this one time I was traveling, and then comes up your character knowledge skill. It'll be a fun time, but definitely grab some scrap from this room randomly while you're here as well. But while I'm mentioning this, let me see here. So, between Nestri and Phoenix, I'm going to need you both to roll me a quick perception check. Meanwhile, Devaxian is wandering around like, oh, piece of candy, as he's picking up spell components. I'm running with it for a second. It's so odd to see Dan fail checks on skills. Like, so long as a rogue. Oh, the eye crossed off is secret. All right. Oof. Dean, you're stealing everyone's luck today, man. That's how this is working. Oh? Oh yeah, that little orb that's floating. Your Navi. It's gonna look at you. Oh yeah. You eat once per day, right? You can choose the familiar that it takes, which isn't too bad. But as of right now, it's doing the Navi. Hey, listen, hey. Ooh, look over here, listen, I saw something, hey. Once you get the ones in later games, yeah. You still play the hell out of the game despite that one thing. It's just, after so many, hey, listen, hey, woo, hey, hey, oh. Sorry. If it counts as a creature, you'll be able to. While it's in its orb form, I have no idea because it's your racial feature, and off the top of my head, I don't know that one. Because it's technically a rock at the moment, not a creature from what I'm reading up. Yep. Instead of being instead of having a pet cat, you have a pet rock. Like, that's, from what I see, it doesn't have the ability, like, they stay away from damage while having all the benefits of a thing. Oh, 1 second here. Yeah, she's flipping out a little bit there. You're doing a bit better. Not so cryy now. So Dan, I gave a quick read online through a whole bunch of different spots and areas. As near as I can tell, yep, you've got a pet rock, which lets you do some cool things, but that means it can't see here, blah, 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 right? So, you've got a pet rock until it takes the form on of something else, which helps keep it out of combat and gives you all the bonuses of having a familiar, but it's a pet rock, at the moment, until you morph it, once per day. As near as I can tell, since it acts as a rock and has the features of a rock. Can't hear, can't see, right? Can't taste. Doesn't require food or air or drink at all. But I've never seen I've never seen a tabletop game say, you have a pet rock, and actually make it cool. Let me see here. Yeah, they give you the innate surge instead of the land speed, right? So this one small headache. I'm still gonna read in a bit, but basically, yeah, we're gonna say it doesn't see nothing right now to make life easier. She's having some fun in the background, just going nom 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 nom. Oh, I spoke too soon. She got mad. She goes, "No, I can do the rock star." Huh? That does not sound tasty. That doesn't sound fun. You can't ruin chocolate and peanut butter. Ugh. No, thank you. What? So what's the plan in the room now, everybody? As you're all chilling about. Oh, I'm gonna be looking that one up for a few minutes. Well, you could definitely go ahead and take a check for traps on that one.
She says there's a trap. Ed? Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
You are rolling a perception check against its, well, stealth check on this one. With a 15, it does not appear to be trapped. The door, however, as you go to grab and give it a shove, is locked.
Yeah. 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 going out that way.
Yep. It's a reaction. You must first be able to prepare to help. 1 second here. And then it's pretty much up to the Dungeon Master on whether or not you can aid the ally. You explain exactly how you're trying to help to the Dungeon Master, and then it's up to them. If you get a success, you'd get your ally a +1 circumstance bonus. Critical success would grant you a +2. If you're a master with the check, the +3, and if you're legendary, it's +4. But if you get a critical failure on attempting to assist them, it's a -1 circumstance penalty to the triggering check. And I will say, generally, aid checks are pretty high. That's the typical one, yep. Particularly hard tasks would be higher, easy tasks would be lower. This door, I'm gonna say, is straight average overall. The honest truth of the way they set aid up in this one, your aid check might be higher than the DC that you're trying to help them pass. They get real strict on, oh, you want to help another player? No, you go straight to hell. At least for straight checks, anyway. That wouldn't be too bad. If you get bonuses to your aid check, that would be handy. Actually, a good example. If you're trying to pickpocket someone, the other person says, "I'll distract them." That's a perfect one for aid. You roll a 5 on the distraction check, and they're like, "Hey, who's trying to grab my money?" So that's fair. But Jillian, if you want to roll it, by all means. Just if your result is 10 or less overall, which the odds aren't in the favor of doing that, but it's not the best of odds. You'd be able to give that, you'd do, either nothing would happen, but if you do 20 or better at what you would assume, you'll get a +1 to them. Alrighty. Since you're chained with thievery tools, you can attempt to give them the same as if you were rolling it. So, you just gotta give it a shot with your own lockpick set as you're assisting. You know, leaning over, like, no, twist it a little bit more to the right, up a little. No, you almost got it, but you're off because I can see the pin shifting. There it is, you know? So you give me a roll for picking a lock using your thieves' tools yourself to see if you can assist. Oh, Yep, you'd need to have the basics enough training in order to do lockpicking to assist. I was literally about to say, you gonna hold a flashlight? I love it. So you're holding up the flashlight like I got you. No negatives, but no positives. So... with a 17, you successfully pick the lock on that door. I'll go ahead and give that an unlock for you for the next room.
Person said.
One party member leaning in. You want me to get that door and make it? You just popping it open at the same time, sliding it open like, I didn't get stabbed, so it's okay this time. Yeah. Indeed. Coming into the next zone, you would see a number of small stone pews, barely big enough for two people to squeeze side by side into each set. The first two, set a good ways back, seem to be in better condition than the remainder. And as you walk up, either around or between, with large pillars on the north and south of this room, as you can see, supporting a tall domed ceiling. Each of the pews in the top front 6 sets that you can see also have chains at the bottom of said pews, so anybody sitting there might not have been able to get up. And you can see a number of bones lying around. At the very front, a single stone altar lies, made of solid marble, with a pair of stone demonic statues upon either side. It makes a hollow echoing of a spin as it clatters about the floor before hitting dead middle on that marble at the very end, and your character can't help but think, you know, I'm sure I could make a game out of this if I had a few more bones set up there I could knock over. You start seeing the very basics of candlepin bowling in your character's head. But nothing seems to happen beyond that, outside of the echoing and clattering about the chamber floor. Walking your way through here, the other thing to note is at the back of this area, you'd notice a basin against the wall, with water continually flowing into it, even still. However, When you're looking at these pews in the back, you'd notice beneath them, where they're actually hollow as opposed to the others solid. The hollow underbelly of the front of these pews, each one contains a spear. Yep. It looks like it would have been a useful weapon as an actual weapon and had seen a bit of combat. But like much of the detritus and refuge here, it's all since fallen apart. You could probably pick it up and poke a few things with it, but it would most likely break. I'm a bit happy they made that a cantrip. The first 6 of them, underneath them actually, right where your feet would be if you were sitting, are chains to lock you in place. Just demonic statues, large and very, very well crafted. Seems to be out of solid iron or some other similar metal that's managed to hold up against the test of time. Even a glance at it, you don't sense any magic. It appears to be standard plumbing. Years upon years of water flowing into this basin has actually resulted in much erosion to it. In too much longer time, maybe centuries, it's going to eat through the bottom. It's not too much further to go now, which does cause some water to pool at the bottom instead of draining through the hole. Outside of that, it actually seems very pristine and clean. You doubt this was used for any form of cleaning. As mentioned, a large altar set against the far wall, made of solid mahogany sorry, solid marble. And as you approach, you can see the remnants of papers, documents, and books on top. Many of them, however, look like they're about ready to crumble. A cautious hand might be able to find something amongst them. Most things closed and rolled up, not much stands out, though, if you wanted to roll a check for that one, you could try perception for looking at it from a distance as you actively scour over without physically touching anything else. Giving a glance over with perception, you don't notice anything that's catching your character's eye. Reaching a finger out towards a scroll at the end, as you touch it, it pretty much goes Looney Tunes and crumbles from one side to the back. If there's anything to be recovered here, it's going to be very slim, and most likely a lot of these old documents are going to be destroyed in the process. Well carved, and they look nasty, but nothing seems to stand out overly to you. They don't seem to be any specific depiction. In fact, both statues look like they were designed off the same mold, pretty much identical. And as for that pile of stack of papers, pretty much the only option the party has for dealing with that at the moment is you can take a seek through it if you're looking at the actual such, but it will be destructive. Because I don't think this version really does perception as an abstract. It's both abstract and on hands, depending on how you want to use it. There's also the ancestral knowledge, but that's for putting two and two together once you have something to work with. So you know, it gets wonky. Don't mind me. I'm still getting myself through the skills in this game too. It's hard to shift gears. So hard. Color cleaner soil for tidying. It's not like the old mending that we're used to. You could, using that, you could assist, essentially, in whoever's going to be doing a perception check, or you could run a perception check using prestidigitation to lift and move objects around, which may change your difficulty rating on it, since you'd have a surgical tool, essentially, at your precision. Like, you know me and my hands, they sound like xylophones when I make crack fists. You want me to go ahead and put together a scale model ship of the Titanic, and I'm trying to glue that one buoy onto the mast, and it's... Prestidigitation comes over, just plop, it's in place. It's like, thank you, floating hand. So your difficulty would assumedly be lower. Or you can provide aid to someone else doing a check. Aid's rough until the levels get up there. The prestidigitation, using its ability to lift and move objects around, essentially, would allow you to shift and twist. You grab something and it crumbles down except to a single square of paper, prestidigitation into the air, see what's on it, move on, you know what I mean? Slower process, but a more careful process. Yeah, they ain't kidding when they say there's like 50 ways to do a single check in this version. And so what's the plan for investigating the old documents? Alright, so as you are carefully going through then, you give me a perception check through that. As you seek for what you're looking for, to be specific. With a 10, as documents shred, tear, and break underneath your grasp, the only thing that you're able to really find out is this does appear to be some blind place of worship. And you don't find out to whom or to what or to why. It seems very, very dark in its dealings, but you do find a piece of the name for who would be responsible. And unfortunately, I didn't have my narration tool turned on, so D-A-R-I, a piece of the name that you find, but nothing more. Whoever they were worshipping to, that's the name in part. Raid. And it... Oh, no, what are you talking about? You lied! I could not get the 40% discount! Then you're supposed to be like, but you didn't click the link below, did you? You didn't download from the correct... That's your fault. That's all I'm seeing now on YouTube. That's all I'm seeing now, Jillian. Oh, you know, but if I had the great power provided by Death Knight with his new critical update you can get from the link below watching this channel. Oh. Yep. That's a... Apparently they do well for themselves. I'll tip my hat for Shadow Legends. They're popular enough. Sandy's got me on a different phone game, though, so nope, no thank you. Oh, gosh. I mean, if you just have to drop their name once during a stream, that wouldn't be bad, but $200? My god, that's not worth anyone's time. Wow. Nope. And did I just hear one of those Casio calculators in the background? Oh, I thought you owned it. You got me all excited. I'm like, have you been practicing new musical instruments? Those calculators are wild. And then you see someone playing like Through the Fire and Flames on them, and you're like, God damn it, man! You need a guitar, and they're like, but it won't make me cool. And it's like, I live in the wrong era. Oh my. Well, you found the edge of a name for whatever they were worshipping inside this horrendously cultish, dark, twisted, dreary place. You can definitely seek for anything like that you might be looking for, by all means. See, I'm getting used to these checks. Why is it got... Oh, that is going to be a good one. I'm going to check that out on break. 22. As you're seeking around, at the same time as Phoenix is moving some papers and finding that name, you do indeed find a false bottom at the very front of it. You could pop that open, it would appear something might be back there. So you can also do another one of those checks for traps. The usual. You end up doing the same check a lot of times in a row with this one, I will admit. D&D, I've already done my check. Do I see it? This covers everything, right? 18, it appears to be untrapped as well. As you open this one up, you see a rather interesting item inside of there. Cracking it open, you find a torch. Ah, as you grab the torch, however, pick a color. Alright. As you pull the torch out, it erupts immediately in violent flame, before coursing to a softer, blue-tinted light, as the torch is now a light in your hand. One thing to note of the torch, however, as you're oogling and eyeing it, one natural thing you'd quickly notice, however, is that it's not giving off any heat. Yep. Through empirical trial and error, I think it stays lit, and it doesn't even smolder or make any noise as it's put in there. It gives off no heat. The other thing you note, because I'm sure after a while of testing and seeing, it doesn't actually ignite anything it touches, and you can put your hand directly on the head of this torch without any pain whatsoever. In fact, you notice the material that it's made of does not even burn, constantly shedding light. Though, I'll also give, if you take a moment to wrap cloth around it again, smothering it, specifically covering it and hiding it, no light would give off, but the second it's revealed in any way, again, it burns so brightly. As indeed, you have found, and I'll give you the meta, an ever-burning torch. A very common application of permanent magic, but again, one of the things long since lost to this world. I give the party an ever-burning torch. But with a faint blue light. Easier on the eyes at nighttime. So you can raid dungeons and still sleep well. At least according to my cell phone. Nice thing on this is it is a light item, so it shouldn't affect your bulk too much for carrying it. But you will need a free hand in order to hold it, and even when you let it go, it still remains lit. One thing I'll tip my hat to Pathfinder, it gives you very strict rules on what items players are supposed to get and how many and what etc. per level. Like D&D, where it's like, don't give them anything. But indeed. Meanwhile, I'm like, every magical item I give the party that's a direct weapon or gear, I can increase by half a CR. I've got 6, 8, 12, 12. Okay, I can put the CR up by about 10 for this fight. Let's see how they do against this epic monster of Wish Bang Boom. It's 2 turns and they killed it. What the? Not gonna lie, whenever I threw out an overpowered monster and I thought it was gonna be a challenge and you all trounced it, I had to mute the mic, lean back, and go, shit. Plan B, where's plan B? Oh my. Well, anything else for examining in this room? You stuck the stick in the water, though. Nothing happened. I mean, it got wet, but nothing happened. Cracked, worn, I've seen a lot of seats on them, and a little bit of blood staining as well. Ha, I got it, just because this looks pretty. Mind you, that's a torch of continual flame for D&D Reddit, but it popped up on a Google search, so thank you to that artist for making such a lovely object for people to use. Huh? Kitsune of Legend is like twitching angrily right now, like, I'm gonna curse these players. You could tie a torch to your tail, though, certainly. I mean, you would be able to do it in anything. It'd be stuck to you, and it'd be quite some work to get it on or off mid-combat. So keep that in mind. But you become pretty much like a glowfish, except you're feline. You know, the one with the little light in front of its mouth, and then Oh my goodness. I mean, part of me wants to say, rules is written, it says held in one hand for usage, so you can't just... But I mean, if you tied it to something, it's an ever-burning torch, it stays there, like... Oh yeah. And I gotta look into that pet rock more. I have a feeling it can hear and it can see, it's just can't move. Because it's a familiar, because it's not a creature, so it doesn't get the bonuses. When it takes on form, it certainly does, but I think that might be like the sort of thing you walk it over to a person, here, hold on to my pet rock, Billy, and you walk away and they're like, that's so cute, they have a pet rock, they put it in their pocket, and you're like, infiltrated. I think that's part of the idea. I'm gonna need you to help me out on this one though, Dan, because the rules are new. If you do any Googling and find out, because I can't find people touching it. Yeah. But it's a rock. Can it actually see, or is it actually a pet rock? No, it's a rock that's your pet that has power. No. You'll see the problems. But I think you might be able to see and hear with it. I think. So we'll see how that goes, because it's its own thing. It's your pet rock. And I mean, every now and again, if you're here and you're pulling out it's a good rock and putting it back in your pocket, your teammates might be looking at you funny. But tomorrow, when it turns into an owl, they're going to be looking at you real funny. Oh, my word. Oh, no. Crystal fairy dragon, since it was a rock. Granite dragon. You took your pet rock for granted. Yep. Damn right I made a rock pun. So, not much else for this room. Oh, sorry. Oh, geez, that sounds right. I'm gonna have to take a look through my Sirenscape for this campaign. They have so many more than what I'm using. But I might give it a shot because it's pretty. But for this room, given that you've got the magical MacGuffin from it, anything else for it as you traverse along? The main reason I ask is because to save you all a minute, I teleport your minis like that. So I'll skip you out of that zone as you walk free, the green light still hovering about, as the torches on the wall continue to illuminate your way towards yet another door. This one, to save you a minute since there's been a few, is not locked. Not trapped, and you find yourselves making through it very quickly, and the team gasps, thinking, Alan didn't try to hold one over our heads for the spooktacular fashion for once? No, I did not, because I got two more for you. The end of this hallway, there's a door to the left and a door to the right, each leading off in their own way. The wall's so solid, though, it's always a little tricky to hear what's going on in this old, quiet crypt. But we're pretty much a little past the halfway mark, and I am going to go out and grab lunch for Sandy. So I think this is a perfect spot for us to take a quick 15-minute break. I'm going to go ahead and give a pause to the recording, because as you find yourself staring down this tunnel, it only takes a few minutes for the smoke to clear from this tunnel. After shooting off the fire blast through it, you have no trouble clearing the webs, and the smoke itself dissipates fairly quickly down this long hall. So you can feel free to step in and do some investigating. Might have to lift a cloth over your character's mouth, give a couple coughs. I mean, one little spider came running out and attacked your character's foot after barely surviving the blaze, but they perished from their wounds. It was an epic tale in a story, but for you, you're just walking into the room, you don't even notice. Unfortunately, while moving some of the old piles that lie in this room and twisting around the old spear, it finally gives and breaks in your hand, crumbling down. You still got the head for the spear, but the body itself, the shaft, mostly now destroyed. But unfortunately, in a room of what you think would have been the poor sacrificial people, you don't find any forms of treasure or style in this area, just old, charred bones. Does that small prayer outside the door, like, I'm okay, yep, okay. We didn't desecrate nothing here. Oh, my word. Into the bag of bullcrap. I'm always going to have a funky name for that one. Into the wannabe holding bag. You can just keep a note as well in that notebook of yours of all the random things you put in there and when. Because it'll be an interesting thing to look back on at some point. A femur. Plus the dust and stuff from the other room, right? A full flippin' femur. No, God knows how that works. Well, 2 roads are diverged here in stone, neither of which looks less traveled by. But which one you choose to take will make all the difference. As I totally butcher a poem. North or south, which way is the group looking to travel? The next steps of your venture. Now, to fill out your range of vision as you walk towards the north, because I know you're generally a safer party and you like to cover all bounds, towards the north is a very large archway here for the next area, but it only leads to another hallway with a door at the end. You'll be able to clearly see that once you get your tokens there. I'm just giving you the background while you're walking up. So there are 3 doorways total to the north. One to the left, that, with your previously high check that was done for Dean's character, you know, is another one of those mass graves that you could go and examine. You have no idea what's to the right, though, or to the north and to the right. To the left is another one of those burial chambers, you're quite certain. Don't know what's in there until you look, of course, but it bears the similar stylistic design that would lead you to agree from your previous check. You're pretty sure it's another burial chamber. To the right, however, you have no clue what's in there, just a door in the middle of the hallway. And then an archway to the far north, which leads to yet another door. I'll actually pull your character up so you can see the difference. As you can see, another door down here in the fog of war. I'll pull you back to here for now. What's the team thinking? Well, you can do your usual checks on it. Door seems fine. Well, we're running out of time anyway for today, so at this point you're going to find out. Probably one of those, oh no, something bad for next sessions. But I'll go ahead and pop that door because it's not locked and doesn't appear to be trapped. But the room beyond, as you give that door a pop, you see what appears to be remnants of bodies sitting on top of tables, a chemical table to the north, a number of different pieces of equipment lying in this room, and to the south, a desk and chair with a book on top that still seems to be in good condition. A mildewy, musty smell fills the air here, and you can hear water rushing below the two grates in the edge of this room, as you appear to have entered what looks to be a prep room. Unfortunately, though, we'll have to call it here for the day, because I do have stuff I gotta run to do today, unfortunately, for 3 o'clock. So, that's pretty much gonna be it for today's session. And Addie's getting super mad and knocking all the stuff off my desk. You can hear her. But that's a good quick little spot for us to cut off for today. So many. At least your fog of war will show you. That'll help. Oh my goodness, Addison. Alright, I'm gonna cut the recording there.